those kinds of things.
Well, there's been pressure in the past. I know when we had our appropriations bill up that I was helping manage in the last Congress, we had amendments offered on the floor to cut out a lot of the funds that we had included in the bill for the marketing promotion program, the old targeted export assistance program. And we had a hard time keeping funds in the bill for those purposes. There had been hearings that the Agriculture Committee had held that indicated that some of the funds were being used to promote the sale of brand name products overseas, and there were questions about whether that was appropriate or not. And I think that we benefited from the hearings, and we've been able to tighten up the regulations and the practices to ensure that the monies are used for what they're designed for, and that is to deal with unfair trade practices in other countries and among competitors that make it more difficult for U.S. exporters to sell in those markets. And I think the program has been a success in many ways. Our cotton industry particularly has benefited from the marketing promotion programs. So I hope we can see strong support for the programs. I'm going to continue to fight for the programs. I think the export enhancement program that wheat people like and think is helpful to them should be continued as well.
Senator, how do you feel about the family medical leave act? Are you in favor of that?
I have opposed it in the past, not because I disagree with the fact that people ought to be able to get off from work when they have a child or have illness in the family, but I worry about the federal government making decisions for employers and employees about the kind of fringe benefits that are available in the workplace. And if we as a federal government start making these decisions and pick out one or two things and say, okay, every employer who has 50 or more employees has to provide this kind of benefit for these employees. Well, there are other benefits that some of the employees would think would be much more important, like getting time off to go to school, or helping with tuition payments for retraining or upgrading skills, daycare centers. Why not make everybody have a daycare facility at the place of business instead of just giving them unpaid leave, which some of them can't take anyway. So there are problems with the benefit that's being mandated. And I think if you ask other American people, you know, what they think about having a benefit, everybody's going to say, well, I like it. I'm in favor of it. Whatever the benefit is, people like fringe benefits. They like longer vacation periods. You know, we're all in favor of everything like that. But what happens is government intruding into the relationship as a matter of law and enacting statutes. I think you're going to find the workplace will become an area where employers do only what government tells them they've got to do, and that's bad. And some businesses that may have small profit margins, you know, may be hurt unnecessarily by this. I just think it's a bad idea. I think we ought to encourage businesses through tax incentives to make available fringe benefits that are sensitive to these interests and needs. That would be something I would vote for. But having the government come in and play big brother to everybody, including the employees, I think is something we ought to resist. So if we have a recorded vote, I'll vote no and watch it pass, I guess, and do something. Well, that's right. If the ban on military homosexuals, right? That could be offered. I think that's what Senator Dole would like to do, is offer this amendment to that bill.
Would that then make you support the total bill?
No. No, I'd probably vote against the bill. I don't think the bill would be brought up. I don't think the family medical bill is going to be brought up with that sitting there as a potential amendment. Matter of fact, somebody said, well, we're not going to have any votes this week. And then I heard another senator say, or next week either, until they get this worked out.
Shortly after the election, weeks after that, Senator Dole seemed to be calling for a very aggressive Republican response to everything the White House was doing, almost as a partisan reaction. In fact, my understanding was he wrote all the Republican senators telling them to be crafting the Republican answer to everything the White House did. It appears since then that most of the Republicans have backed away from that sort of direct confrontational approach. How do you, as a member of the leadership, see that at this stage?
Well, I think there is an understanding that we ought to try to cooperate and work together when we can to solve the problems that we all agree that we face. The economic slowdown, the fact that we don't have as much growth in the economy as we ought to. There's a problem with unemployment still in a lot of areas of the country, even though in Mississippi we've seen a very strong improvement in that situation. And to be viewed as just hostile, to everything the administration wants to do, I think is bad policy for us as a party. And that the better policy is, and I think most of us are beginning to see this and agree with it, is to show a willingness to work and cooperate and try to solve problems that face the people of the country. And I think we all have an obligation to demonstrate that our system works, that American government is capable of functioning in a logical and thoughtful way. Because that's certainly not the perception right now. The perception is that it doesn't work. And it's really strange when countries all over the world are making changes in their policies to be more like the United States. Here at home, we're becoming less and less enchanted with our own system. And a lot of disaffection out there among voters and with hostility toward politicians generally, and Washington politicians in particular. So I think we're all understanding that that was part of the message of the campaign. Maybe why Perot got such a big vote in a lot of states is that he was sort of the anti-political figure in the campaign. And he was the antithesis of the smooth, carefully coiffed candidate. And people were attracted by him and to that. So I think we're all understanding that we've got some work to do up here to reestablish credibility of our own system, and that we're not going to do that if we just continue to be hostile on a partisan basis and continue to fight and be divided on the basis of party loyalties rather than the merits of proposals and the substance of the issues. I think we need to be driven by other concerns and to demonstrate that by the way we conduct our business.
Does the Perot factor affect the health of the Republican Party?
No, I really don't think so. Most people these days view themselves as independents anyway. And I think we've been realizing that out there for a good while now. And this time they just had a candidate to vote for who was also independent. Most times they don't have a candidate to vote for. They have to decide whether to vote for the Republican or the Democrat. But my impression of the American voter right now is that most of them will vote for the person they think is best qualified, irrespective of the party affiliation. Fewer and fewer people view themselves as loyal party regulars, people who will vote for the party candidate no matter what. I think you'd find maybe 20% of the folks think of themselves in that way as Democrats and about the same as Republicans. And that leaves 60% of the people who do not see themselves in that way. They see themselves as capable of voting for another candidate. Y'all are great to come visit and talk.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Do you have yellow dog Republicans?
We have yellow dog Republicans. I don't think they call themselves that.
You mentioned, you talk about this honor that we have.
Yeah.
A systematic.
Water
Yes, sir.
I was telling you.
No, it's I don't know. Gainesville, Georgia, that's it.
It's going to be a mistake to play politics with this.
It goes everywhere. Okay. Well, financial wire. Yeah, yeah. I covered lots of things. I've seen you though before.